Hello and welcome. This is part 7 of the Massachusetts versus Karen Reed Daubert hearing analysis. Thank you for being here.
Defensive wound, does it?
Not absolutely.
Well,
in context, though.
Right. In context, so you need to know more information.
Correct.
So perhaps if you saw how that happened, that would provide you more information.
That would be one way.
But if you saw nothing and have really no idea how it happened, it doesn't give you a lot of context of the wound other than it's a wound on the posterior side of an arm.
Well, it does in the sense that it's a common way that people protect themselves.
Mm-hmm. Can someone incur wounds to the forearm, posterior side of the forearm, if they fall to the ground and fall backwards?
They could, but they wouldn't look like that.
Oh.
That series. Okay.
Have you studied a collection of wounds when people fell backwards onto the ground?
I've seen hundreds of people that have fallen backwards or frontwards and every which way.
Wouldn't you want to have an idea what they fell on or into before you make a conclusion that it would not have looked like the picture that we've looked at, Exhibit 5?
I've seen, as I said, hundreds, and there has never been a pattern like that, ever, that I've seen.
Well, when someone hits a moving or a floating object...
I get what Dr. Russell is saying. She is saying that of all the victims who fall down, their wounds don't look like that after they fall down. She can tell that the wounds on John O'Keefe's right arm are not from him falling down. They are from dog bites.
Patterns are dynamic. They change all the time, don't they?
They do during the hitting process. Yes, during that process.
Okay. You talked about your specialized training. You said you had a program in motor vehicle accidents.
Yes.
And I think when you testified before, Attorney Lally had asked you whether or not your training was, I think he used the word rudimentary, and you agreed?
Yes, I believe it was only a 1-week course or something thereabouts.
When you're identifying a wound at the hospital, is it important to know, you said it's important to know the animal because that dictates the treatment.
It may dictate the treatment.
What if you can't identify the animal?
Then then you have to go on clinical judgment, and sometimes we even have to call up the Board of Health. But you go on clinical judgment to determine, well, what was the worst possibility? That's the way I approach medicine. What is the worst? Could it have been a rabid animal, an animal with rabies? Or was it an animal that doesn't carry rabies? And then based my treatment on that, sometimes you have to treat broadly, and sometimes you have to, treat people for conditions, even if you don't know 100% that they exist.
Are there times when you saw injuries that you just didn't know how they happened?
Yes.
Many times. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And many times you thought what you saw were bites, but you couldn't articulate the animal, right?
That happens sometimes.
Okay. Suffice to say, you have never, ever been qualified in a federal court to testify as a dog bite expert, have you?
No.
And other than this trial a year ago, have you ever been qualified to testify in any state court in the entire country as a dog bite expert?
No, the issue never came up.
That's not what I asked.
Okay,
though. No.
So those are rather damning questions against Dr. Russell, and her answers, her honest answers, are rather damning as well. And that was the point of all this, wasn't it? Wasn't it the point for the prosecution to file the motion for the Daubert hearing and for Judge Beverly Cannoni to grant the motion for the Daubert hearing, because both the prosecution and Judge Beverly Cannoni agreed that they were not 100% certain of Dr. Russell's expertise in dog bite and claw mark injuries, right? So, it's counting against her so far. Hank Brennan, as robotic as he is, and as much as I consider him Adam Lally 2.0, he is executing his mission rather efficiently here.
You wrote a report in this case?
Yes.
Did anybody help you write this report?
I wrote the report. I had some help with some minor edits and rearranging, some paragraphs or whatever, but putting things in the right category.
Okay.
But no, I wrote the report.
Who helped you with your report?
Mr. Alessi.
So did you write a preliminary or draft report, send it for input, and then change it?
No, I didn't change it. I wrote the report, and I would have things in the wrong categories. For instance, like training experience or whatever.
Who said they were the wrong category?
Well, I think that was my conclusion, actually.
I see. And so how would you go through this editing process? How did that work on this report? Would you send it back and forth?
It got sent back and forth a couple times.
Okay. Now, this report you signed, right?
Did I sign it? Yes.
Nobody else signed it. You.
I wrote it.
Okay. And the reason why I asked if you had help, a lot of your statements and conclusions in this report are different than the testimony that you gave at both the voir dire hearing a year ago and at the trial. Is that fair to say?
I don't think it's fair to say.
Okay.
I think that I don't think it's fair.
Okay.
I was convinced, if we would get into specifics, I was convinced of of my opinion back in the voir dire and in the trial. But I think I stated it wrong. I stated it as if I was talking to other doctors. They say in medicine that nothing is 100% in medicine. That's what we learn, when we go up through medical school and residency and whatever. And in my teachings, I always told people nothing is 100%. And that was the number that I was, that I thought I was being asked for. Basically, it was 100%. So that's why I stated my opinion the way I did. But anyways, as I went through material again, I was convinced back then, and I am still convinced right now, that these are caused by dog bites. And not only that, but dog attack.
Really good. She's, while Hank Brennan is, in my opinion, doing a good job attempting to discredit her, she is also doing a good job reassuring him and everyone else that she's not being inconsistent. She still believes those wounds on John O'Keefe's arm were caused by a dog, and a dog attack specifically. But again, I'm not in favor of the prosecution by any means, so don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying from a performance perspective, Hank Brennan is executing this the way the prosecution wants him to. He's doing a far better job than Adam Lally ever would. But let's not forget, guys, that the prosecution was given the opportunity to give the McCabe's and the Alberts time to go over the questions before the trial even began. The McCabe's and the Alberts were permitted to have a practice hearing with the prosecution before the trial even began. So for Hank Brennan to sort of give Dr. Russell shit for having assistance from defense attorney Robert Alessi in revising and writing her report, Hank Brennan needs to go back to the beginning, back to the first trial, when the prosecution was permitted to have a practice hearing with the key witnesses in this case, the McCabe's and the Alberts, the only people, mind you, who can tell us what actually happened to John O'Keefe and what Chloe actually did to John O'Keefe and what everyone else who was involved in the fight did to John O'Keefe. The prosecution was permitted to have a practice hearing with those people, and we all know that those people lied to us. So let's not forget that while Hank Brennan is grilling Dr. Russell about how Robert Alessi assisted her in writing this report.
If you were testifying honestly and earnestly before and you're using doctor speak, why would you need to change it for today, for this report? Why not just continue to offer a natural, honest...
Did you guys hear that? She gasped out loud. She gasped out loud at what Hank Brennan just said. He accused her of having testified honestly and dishonestly. He is jumping to conclusions about her testimony during the trial and during this Daubert hearing. And she gasped and she's scratching her head. She is stressed out about what he just said.
Opinion that you had before. Why did you have to change it?
I came up with this. I became clearer and clearer every single time that I looked at the pictures, and I just realized that I understated the last time, that I misunderstood the question that was asked of me, regarding my opinion, and so I felt that I had to be clearer.
Did anybody point out to you that it'd be more helpful to the defense case if you had a more assertive opinion?
No, absolutely not.
So when you went through these days and months since the trial, did you get any new information that you looked at that made you realize you underscored the confidence in your opinion?
No.
Okay. Because in your earlier testimony, it's quite different.
I know.
Okay. I want to do this gently, but I want to go through some of that.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to do this gently, but I want to go through some of that. Okay, Hank Brennan.
When you first testified, you had... How should I say this? You offered opinions that were less than certain about the genesis and cause of the wounds, didn't you?
I think it sounded like I was not certain. However, I was certain. I just didn't express it correctly.
Okay. When you first testified in the voir dire about some of these wounds, you were asked what kind of animal you thought caused the wounds, and you said, most likely a dog.
Correct.
You didn't say beyond a reasonable degree of dog bite certainty, did you?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the basis of the question?
The objection is, he said beyond a reasonable doubt, and that was...
No, he didn't say doubt. He said degree of medical certainty.
He said beyond, Your Honor.
Right, beyond a reasonable degree of medical certainty. So I heard you didn't get to the certainty. You just heard beyond reasonable and objected. So based on that, the objection's overruled.
Let me phrase to make it clear. You didn't say to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that the bites you looked at were a dog.
I did in one of the okay, and maybe in the next one. Okay, but yeah, if I wasn't asked about reasonable degree of medical certainty, I may not have expressed it.
The court herself asked you, do you know what kind of animal? And you said, yes, most likely a dog.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So you didn't express certainty at that point?
Yes, but thinking as a doctor and not a lawyer or a judge or someone, I'm thinking as a doctor, I'm thinking that it's never 100%. And so that's what I was going by. If I was going to be teaching medical students what those wounds were, another group of wounds, I tell people never 100% in medicine. So that's where that came from. And I apologize if I confused the court.
I don't think there's any confusion. You used the word likely. The word...
He's... Man, Hank Brennan, I told you guys, he came punching. He started his cross-examination of Dr. Russell rather aggressively, and his questions were back to back. And when he says, I don't think there's any confusion, I know he's implying that he believes her statements were contradictory. He believes that this witness has contradicted herself and therefore she's not reliable.
Possibly is even less certain than likely, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, when you're a doctor and you look at something, you say, well, the likelihood is this is the cause of this.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That would be a stronger opinion than saying, possibly this.
Correct.
Possible is even less certain, isn't it? At trial, when you were asked about the cause of the injuries, I'm going to quote you, and I can show you if you'd like. It's the trial transcript, page 19, line 21. What you said is, I believe that these injuries were sustained by an animal, possibly a large dog, because of the patent injuries.
Yes.
Is that your testimony?
Yes.
Very different. I'll just finish if I could. Very different than what you're opining today at this hearing.
I'm sorry that you think it is, and I can understand how you believe it is, but it's not different to me.
Excellent response from Dr. Russell, as well as Hank Brennan is doing here in his, again, execution of the mission to discredit this witness so that she cannot testify at the potential retrial. Dr. Russell is responding rather well. She's saying, I understand that you think it's not the same. I understand that you think it's very different. But to me, the one speaking with the opinion, the one making the observations, me, as the witness here, I don't think they're very different.
I believed it was a dog. I was convinced it was a dog then, but going by the no 100% in medicine, I didn't say that. I am still convinced it's a dog. The one thing that's a little different.
And to be fair, guys, possibly a dog and with medical certainty that it's a dog are two different statements, but she's still saying it's a dog. It's what Hank Brennan is essentially doing here is critiquing the word usage, but the overall argument remains the same. You guys get it? Like, he's attempting to discredit her, and to me, he has when he's asked her those pertinent questions. Like, again, she's never been deemed a dog expert before for any trial before. I can see that counting against her. That essentially is saying the Karen Reed case was the first case that Dr. Russell testified as a dog expert. That counts against her. And I'm saying that objectively. I wish it didn't count against her, but it does. But overall, what's going on in this particular segment of the questioning is Hank Brennan is stressing over the word usage while he's ignoring her overall observations, which were that John O'Keefe was attacked by a dog.
Is that it's an attack. I after counting the series of wounds and whatever, I am convinced not only was it a dog, striking once or twice, but it was actually multiple strikes by that dog.
Okay, now I want to get back to the testimony we were talking about, your testimony at trial, under oath, okay? Your testimony is you believe they were sustained by an animal, possibly a large dog. You expressed uncertainty that you didn't even know or have an opinion about what type of animal caused these wounds at that time. Is that fair to say?
I was leaving room for if there was for instance, another kind of animal in the vicinity that, but there's no evidence to that. There's no, paw marks or anything in the ground.
What other animal do you think was in the vicinity that would have caused these?
I don't know, but I was just leaving that. Again, being a trained physician, there's no absolutes, and so that's what.
No.
The way I approached it.
Did you inquire to see more discovery, to see if there was a pack of wild animals in 34 Fairview that would have caused this? Did you reach out to any of the witnesses or the lawyers and ask if there was any reports or information suggesting another animal?
I did not.
Like Hank Brennan, sir, the same witnesses that lied to everybody about what happened to John O'Keefe, Hank Brennan, those witnesses, you want Dr. Russell to question the liars about what really happened to John O'Keefe.
Were you curious?
I did not. I just didn't do it.
Okay. You were asked by Mr. Jackson, trial page 23, line 3. He provided the question, does this appear as it's a pattern injury that you see appear consistent with an animal or a large dog? And you said yes. So you included that this, again, could have been a dog or an animal in your opinion. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Mm-hmm. I haven't.
So I'm sorry, we can't take a, we need a yes or no.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Again, at trial, page 23, line 6, you were asked, does the number of injuries that you see here relegated to just the right arm, is that consistent with an animal or a large dog? And you said, yes, it can be. Okay. Do you want to see your testimony? Because I don't want to just put words in your mouth.
No, I trust you.
And so, thank you. So the question that you were asked was positing that it could have been not just a dog, but any animal. And you were agreeable to that at that time.
Again, thinking like a medical doctor, not a participant in a legal setting.
Not to belabor, but these are your words, so I want to talk to you about them. You were again asked, page 23, line 18, by Mr. Jackson, based on everything that we've discussed today, doctor, is it your opinion, based on a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that these injuries were from an animal attack, possibly a large dog? And you said yes. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so your opinions today that this was exclusively an animal attack caused by a large dog, that is much different in kind than the uncertainty and possibility that you admitted under oath during trial, in this case the first time, or actually this.
Okay, this is where Hank Brennan is wrong. He's incorrect. He's conflating this doctor leaving room for other possibilities with uncertainty. That's not uncertainty. To say it was possibly a large dog is not uncertainty. It's someone not willing to commit 100% that it was a large dog. But most likely it was a large dog. These are Dr. Marie Russell's words. Hank Brennan is conflating her to me, what is an objective opinion, an objective observation. He's conflating that with someone who would be uncertain. He's incorrect here. To me, he's pushing it. He's stretching the word usage here.
Second time you testified about it. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
It sounds like it, yes.
Okay. I think this is a good point to stop because we need to get another date. You're not going to finish in 3 minutes, right? No, okay. All right. So, Mr. McDermott, was the date you and I looked at? Was it Jim? Okay. If the witness can step down, but Timmy, she's going to stay in the courtroom without any date. Yes.
January 6th.
Okay.
January 6th. Doctor.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Doctor, are you available on January 6th?
I'd be available.
I think after January 15th is cutting it a little too close.
You do earlier. That's far out.
So, I mean, the best date for the court is January 6th?
No dates in December, Your Honor?
We'll be available.
Tomorrow. Actually, I don't know that we'd be able to do it. We suspended a jury trial today that we told the jurors they'd have tomorrow, and we still have testimony. So I think at best we'd give you a half an hour, and I don't think that does you any good. So.
Call will be available anytime.
Monday we can't do?
No. No, not any time before. I could do the 30th.
Oh, I can't do the 30th. No.
So what we really need is Mr. Alessi.
Your Honor, what is your question for a date? And I'll give you an
January
We're looking at the 30th now.
or the 6th, Jim, right?
I thought the.
Yeah. Doctor said after the 15th.
Can you do January 6th?
And
Yes.
I wasn't going to be in town.
Can I ask this? Is the 30th an available day for the court?
Can we move our other stuff, Jimmy?
I am not. Oh, I'm sorry. No.
Back to January 6th?
I can do January 6th. But I want to be trying to be respectful of the witness.
I'm trying to do that as well, but the witness's best dates after the 30th are after the 15th of January, and that's too late. So I understand that the conflict seems to be Mr. Jackson, but Mr. Yannetti, are you available on the 30th or the 6th?
I could move things to be available on the 6th. There's no chance we could do the 8th, right?
I can do the 8th, Your Honor.
You do the 8th?
Jimmy, that's a full day, right?
The 8th?
I think it doesn't matter to her.
Jim.
Yes.
I have stuff.
Actually, I could do the 7th, the 8th. I could probably do the 9th. I just have to move something, but I could do the 9th. I just can't do the 6th.
Last call, January 7th? That sound good?
At 9 a.m., Jimmy.
9 a.m.? January 7th, 9 a.m.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
So it will be resumed on January 7th at 9 a.m., which is a Tuesday. And I believe I will be able to attend the Daubert hearing that day on a Tuesday. So I will be there at the courthouse taking photos of the Karen Reed supporters, and then I will make a part 8 when the Daubert hearing resumes. But so far, as I've stated, Hank Brennan has executed his mission. He has proven to the world that Dr. Marie Russell never testified as a dog bite expert or a dog wound expert previously. She's never had that official title in a courtroom before. That in fact, the Karen Reed case was the first case that Dr. Marie Russell testified as a dog bite expert. And as I stated previously, it does count against her. It's giving Judge Beverly Cannoni the full authority to say, well, this was your first case as a dog bite expert, and I'm not convinced that you are a dog bite expert. I will not allow you to testify at the retrial, should there be a retrial. And that's unfortunate for the defense team. You know, I believe that Dr. Marie Russell was compelling in her testimony. She had me convinced that these are dog bite wounds, dog claw marks as well on John O'Keefe's arm. And again, when she testified about the lady's hand who had also been attacked by Chloe, bitten by Chloe, Dr. Marie Russell stated that rather clearly as well. Her expertise to me is undeniable. When Dr. Russell speaks, I feel confident that she knows what she's talking about. It's just unfortunate that from a criminal court standard, it's unfortunate that Dr. Russell was not previously considered a dog bite expert for any trial. But I kind of hope that the defense team will persist and they will acquire a dog bite expert who was actually called a dog bite expert previously in a previous trial. But I believe I remember the defense team arguing, David Yannetti and Alan Jackson arguing, that dog bite experts are difficult to find. They are difficult to locate. People with that official specific title are difficult to locate, and Dr. Russell was the best that they could do. And again, she has repeatedly stated, Dr. Russell, she has repeatedly stated that she has an interest in dog bite wounds. She is fascinated by them. She's intrigued by them. So to me, that's enough. Like her 30 years of experience as an emergency room doctor and a pathologist, a forensic pathologist, like that to me is sufficient enough to believe what she is saying when she says a dog did this to John O'Keefe. And why was that not in the narrative for the prosecution? Why is the prosecution not pursuing their own dog bite expert? Why is the prosecution ignoring the ARCA experts who also said that John O'Keefe was not hit by the SUV? Like, why is the prosecution continuing to ignore these expert witnesses who know what they're talking about? But again, this is a game. This is a game, clearly. In the Karen Reed case, it is a game. And the prosecution's MO is to have Karen Reed proven guilty for this crime. She never did. Their mission is to remove all other possibilities in this case. And they want to remove Dr. Russell from this case. They don't want her to testify in the future because with Dr. Russell's testimony, it's including the possibility, it's including compelling possibility that John O'Keefe was in fact attacked by a dog, and that attack was left out of the equation. And the jury members going forward in the future, the jury members should want to know what actually happened to John O'Keefe, and they should want to know that those wounds were not caused by an SUV. Anyway, we will see how this all goes, and I wish you all a happy and fulfilling new year. Thank you for watching.